Okay, imagine this. You've spent 6 long, hard months chasing this incredibly dangerous scientist across the galaxy.
Yeah, someone who developed this, frankly, terrifying mind control drug, the zone of self-containment.
Right, a chemical weapon that could basically just switch off the free will of, well, anyone, an
Right.
entire population even.
And you finally track her down. You've got her cornered on this planet, Roman.
Yeah.
Victory seems close.
But then, bam, you're stopped. Not by Star Destroyers or bounty hunters, no.
Bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Just plain old interstellar law and red tape. It's maddening.
That was exactly the frustration facing Obi-Wan Kenobi and his Padawan, Anakin Skywalker. They tracked Jenna Zan Arbor from Vancouver all the way to Rome in this small but, strategically placed mid-rim world.
But Roman wasn't just any planet. It was basically a safe house run by this dictator, Roy Tita.
A criminal himself, right. Rigged elections, the whole deal.
Absolutely. And he was using the planet as this, luxury sanctuary for any galactic fugitive who could afford his hefty bribes.
And the key thing, the real obstacle, was Roman's own local law. It explicitly forbade taking galactic criminals off-world for prosecution elsewhere.
Yeah, and Tata's influence reached the Senate through his hand-picked senator who had backing from some powerful voting blocs. So, the Jedi's official request. Denied, flat out.
They were just stuck, legally blocked from going in and getting her.
Which put them in this impossible spot. Do they just let Zan Arbor continue her work, potentially threatening entire core worlds? Or do they break the law?
So the whole ethical calculation just gets turned on its head. Obi-Wan figures the only way in, the only way to get close to Zan Arbor is to, well, become the kind of person Tata protects.
To become criminals themselves.
Exactly. The plan was incredibly risky. They decided to impersonate the Slams gang, notorious con artists, ID thieves, specialists in infiltration. They'd just been arrested, but it was being kept quiet. For now.
So this deep dive is really all about that impossible choice, that messy intersection of, politics, morality, and sheer necessity.
We're going to unpack how they pulled off this elaborate deception, what they discovered, which was huge.
Oh, absolutely game-changing.
And the consequences. The very dark, very immediate consequences of taking justice into their own hands when the system failed them.
Okay, so let's get into the mission itself. Because right from the start, they were under this immense time pressure.
Yeah, the Senate aide, Tyro Caladian, he got them the Slam ship, this flashy Ubrikian star yacht, and the fake IDs.
But he gave them a hard deadline. He could only guarantee keeping the real Slams arrest under wraps for, what was it?
3 standard days, maximum.
3 days. That's it. If word got out before they were done, their cover was instantly blown on a planet full of criminals who'd probably know the real Slams.
Talk about pressure. 3 days to find Zan Arbor, get what they needed, and get out.
It's almost unbelievable. And that pressure, it immediately caused some friction within the Jedi team they assembled. Obi-Wan brought along Jedi Knight Siri and her Padawan, Ferus Olin.
Ah, Ferus. Always the voice of Jedi principle, wasn't he?
Very much so. He immediately questioned the whole thing. Was impersonating criminals, especially con artists, really appropriate for the Jedi?
He stuck hard to that core belief. Means equal ends. Using dirty tricks taints the outcome, no matter how noble the goal.
Which is, fundamental Jedi teaching, right?
Yeah.
But Obi-Wan and Siri had to push back.
They argued necessity. Zan Arbor wasn't just some petty thief. Her zone of self-containment was a weapon of mass destruction, essentially.
Exactly. They argued that saving potentially millions of lives from that kind of mental enslavement had to outweigh their own temporary loss of dignity.
And that loss of dignity was, let's say, visually apparent right away, the transformation they had to go through.
Oh, the costumes. Let's talk about the costumes.
Obi-Wan had to play Slam, the gang leader, and the outfit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
A heavy, jewel-encrusted purple cloak made of sep silk, this shimmering, totally impractical fabric.
And bright red polished leather boots. He looked like, well, a dandy, as the source puts it. You could just feel his discomfort. Absolutely hated it. Meanwhile, Siri, playing Valadon, got this soft blue clinging garment with apparently not much of it.
So she just throws her rough Jedi utility belt over this flimsy robe, trying to look dangerous and glamorous at the same time. It's quite a picture.
And Anakin, because Zan Arbor had actually seen him before, he had to wear a half mask as Waldo. The excuse was a fake injury from a prison break.
It all sounds almost comical, but it really highlights how desperate they were, just trying to get past those initial security checks on Roman.
But somehow the disguises, the whole act, it worked. Initially, anyway, they landed at Tata landing platform.
And immediately confirmed just how corrupt everything was. Step 1 on the planet. Obi-Wan casually bribes the security officer Becca. Just like that.
Yeah, just greases the palm to get into the capital city, Elier.
And the city itself,
Yeah.
Elier. It was this glittering, luxurious facade, right? Palaces, gardens, but it was all built on dirty money. Criminal bribes.
All while hiding the reality of the poor workers living outside this heavily guarded cloudflower wall.
Total contrast. And Siri, she just slipped right into the Valadon persona. Flattering Tata, charming him, even while sensing this raw brutality underneath.
Which they saw firsthand almost immediately, didn't they?
Yeah. Tata just casually strikes a server with an electro-jabber, a painful stun weapon for making a tiny scheduling error. Showed his true colors instantly. They were walking into a viper's nest.
Okay, so they're in. Danger established. Obi-Wan and Siri get their meeting with Zan Arbor in her ridiculously luxurious villa.
And they make their pitch, sticking to the Slam persona. Offer her an equal partnership, raid a planetary treasury. But they need her science.
Specifically, the zone of self-containment drug to knock out the guards quietly.
But Zan Arbor,
Yeah.
she's arrogant, smug. She just turns him down flat,
Yeah.
says she's retired, living the high life, has everything she needs.
Basically signaling that Tata's protection meant she didn't need to pull small-time heists anymore. She was on to bigger things.
But the meeting wasn't a total loss. While Siri was working her charm on the bodyguard, this huge flog named Hugh.
I think the line was something like, I always had a special thing for flogs. I feel so protected.
Haha, yeah, something like that. She really committed.
Yeah.
While she did that, Obi-Wan used the Force, found a hidden office.
And they managed to copy her latest files, but they were encrypted heavily.
Right, complex coding. But Obi-Wan had this flash of insight. He realized what Zan Arbor was truly obsessed with, her twisted fascination.
He guessed the password, the Force.
Cynical, maybe, but brilliant, and it worked. It unlocked everything.
And this is the moment the entire mission pivots, because those files, they weren't about planetary treasuries.
Not at all. They revealed Zan Arbor was working with someone else, a major partner, on a massive operation targeting a large core planet.
And that partner was?
Granta Omega.
Wow. Okay, that name changes the stakes completely. Omega was one of the Jedi's most wanted, a master strategist, elusive, dangerous.
Exactly. Suddenly, catching Zan Arbor. That became secondary. The real mission, the urgent mission, was now finding Granta Omega. He was the far bigger threat.
Okay, but while Obi-Wan and Siri are having this massive intelligence breakthrough inside the walls,
Anakin and Ferus are having a very different experience outside.
they were tailing Tata's aide, this guy Hansel, right?
Yeah, and they get jumped. Kidnapped by the Roman resistance movement, led by this woman, Joylin. They operated out of the poor areas outside the Cloudflower Wall.
So Joylin knows Tata's corrupt. She knows the Jedi are posing as the Slams, and she sees an opportunity.
She proposes a deal. Her resistance is planning a takeover. If the Slams, meaning the Jedi, steal Tata's security codes during a palace reception that night,
then Joylin guarantees them citizenship, safety on Romin, and, crucially for the Jedi's new plan, safe passage off-world for Zan Arbor.
which is exactly what Obi-Wan now needed a way to let Zan Arbor leave so they could track her to Omega.
But things are getting complicated, and remember that 3-day clock, it's sticking.
Right, and during that palace reception, which sounds like this crazy over-the-top sensory overload party.
Obi-Wan literally bumps into the real Slam.
No way. The actual guy.
The actual guy. Apparently, he'd bribed his way out of prison early and made his way to Romin, wearing his own ridiculous purple cloak.
Oh, that's bad. Really bad. What did Obi-Wan do?
He had to play it cool, stay in character, casually warn the real Slam to steer clear of Teta. But yeah, the cover was hanging by a thread. They had to move, like, now.
So the theft, Obi-Wan gets into Teta's office.
But an alarm goes off, droids attack, it starts to go sideways.
But then, Officer Becca shows up. The guard Obi-Wan bribed earlier.
Turns out he's Joylin's spy. He saves Obi-Wan through a secret passage.
Wow. Okay, so Becca helps them, and then he does something else clever.
He starts to panic, tells all the criminal guests Teta is planning to round them up for questioning.
Chaos ensues. Everyone tries to flee. Teta, terrified of losing his entire criminal clientele, his whole income stream.
He's forced to open the main gates, which allows the Jedi, hidden in this panic mob of criminals, to just slip out.
A chaotic escape, but successful. They got the codes.
They did. But the revolution they helped trigger, that didn't go as planned at all.
The Resistance managed to disable Teta's droid army by hitting the CIP control, the main command center.
And the workers, the oppressed population, they finally broke through the cloudflower wall.
But the hope for, a clean, bloodless revolution, that evaporated instantly.
It just turned ugly immediately. Widespread violence, looting, fires.
And brutal score settling. People who had profited under Teta were dragged out and slaughtered. It became a bloodbath.
And this is where Ferus Olin's earlier warnings really hit home, isn't it?
Absolutely. He was horrified. He looked at the chaos, the bloodshed, and blamed them directly. "We did this," he said.
And you have to ask, did they? Was it really unintended? We're just naive to think it wouldn't happen.
It's a heavy question, because destabilizing any regime, especially one built on that kind of repression and inequality, almost always leads to violence.
And the immediate outcome wasn't freedom either. Joylyn took power, yes, but her first act
Was to issue an ultimatum. Teta had to surrender, or she'd start executing his loyal officers, starting with Hansel, in 1 hour.
So they just traded one tyrant for another who was immediately willing to use the same brutal tactics.
It was looking bleak, but then actual reinforcements arrived.
Finally, Mace Windu, Bant Aaron, Garen Muln, the Jedi Council sent help.
And Mace Windu immediately stepped in,
Hmm.
forced Joylyn to back down from the executions, argued quite rightly that they couldn't become the thing they fought against.
But the really stunning moment, the key insight, came from Anakin.
He did something. More than just sensing emotions. He used the Force to look right into Joylyn's heart, her true motivations.
And what did he find?
Joylyn wasn't really afraid of Teta himself. She's afraid of his staff, the competent people who actually ran things.
And Anakin realized Joylyn had made a secret deal with Zan Arbor.
Exactly, a deal to let Teta escape.
Why?
So Teta would look like a coward, discrediting him. But the real goal was it allowed Joylyn an excuse to execute Teta's loyal staff later, consolidating her own power. It proves Zan Arbor was still scheming, still connected.
Okay, so now they know Zan Arbor and Teta are planning to flee together, using the Slams ship, no less.
They locate them, capture them both. But now comes the hardest decision of the entire mission.
Right. Obi-Wan argues passionately that they have to let Zan Arbor go.
Despite everything she's done, despite the danger she poses right now, let her go free.
Yes, because she's now their only link, their unwitting tracker, to Granta Omega.
The greater threat. Sacrificing the immediate capture for the bigger strategic goal.
Mace Windu, faced with this awful choice, this huge gamble, he reluctantly agrees. The threat Omega represents is just too massive.
Which leaves one final, incredibly dangerous task.
Placing the tracking device. And Obi-Wan gives that job to Anakin.
And this wasn't just sticking a bug on a ship parked in a hangar.
No way. As the Slam Star yacht with Teta and Zan Arbor aboard is lifting off, Anakin has to use the Force to make this insane jump.
Onto the hull of the escaping ship, while it's taking off.
He endures the scorching heat from the exhaust funnels, clings on, and manages to secure the tracking device to the underside. It's an incredible feat of skill and bravery and sheer force power.
So the mission transformed completely, didn't it? From this bureaucratic tangle
To an ethical minefield of impersonation.
to inadvertently sparking a bloody revolution.
And finally, to this high-stakes gamble, letting a villain go to catch an even bigger one.
And it really crystallized that conflict within the Jedi Order, Ferris's adherence to the rules versus Obi-Wan and Anakin's willingness to bend them for what they saw as a necessary end.
But we saw the cost. The Roman Revolution wasn't neat. Bending the rules had real, violent, unintended, or maybe inevitable consequences.
Anakin's jump worked. They placed the tracker. They were following the ship into the Outer Rim.
But then,
as Anakin is watching the ship disappear, he gets this jolt, a force surge, a sudden chilling insight into their enemy.
And the last thing he says is just, Omega. He knows we're coming.
Chilling? What does that even mean? When the enemy you're hunting already knows you're on their trail. They're expecting you, planning for you. And maybe think about this too. Anakin just used his power to delve into Joylyn's deepest fears and secrets, manipulating the situation based on that. That's immense power. What kind of line did the Chosen One just cross, blurring the edges between insight and manipulation in his own pursuit of justice? That's definitely something to think about.